Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of our Zoom how-to video. The purpose of this video is basically to show you how to set up a meeting, how to invite participants, and then how to allow them to view content on your computer, possibly your dissertation presentation or other types of media. So let's get started. First, I think the first step with Zoom, if you are hosting a meeting, is to think about what you're going to do during that meeting and set up your preferences. In part 1 of the presentation, I went over how to do this because you may want to allow your participants to do some things but not allow them to do other things. And you'll need to set that up before you actually begin the meeting or set up the room. So if you have all of that set, then you can begin, again, setting up the meeting room. Nice thing is, again, you can get in early, you can start setting up the room and then invite your participants and then allow them to join at the designated time. But again, let's go step by step over this. I've put these slides in here basically so if you wanted to take a screen capture and keep them as a how-to, and I'll also save them as a PowerPoint so you could print them out if you want. But again, just to give you step-by-step instructions. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by clicking the host button to host and start a meeting. We're then going to join the meeting using our computer, audio, and video, which is how most people probably would join. But we'll also show you how people could join via phone if they choose. We'll then I'll show you how to invite participants. The best way to do this is via email because it gives the participant a number of different ways to join the meeting that again is most convenient for them. And then we'll actually show you how you can edit the email before you send it. All right, so let's take a look at how to host a meeting. Again, you can access Zoom two ways. You can use it or access it through the Communications tab in D2L, which is typically how I do it, or you can actually access it through Zoom on your own computer. It's likely the first time you utilized Zoom was then installed on your computer as a standalone program. Either way, you'll need to enter your CalU username and password to access Zoom. So again, if I go to Communications and then go to Zoom Login, it brings me to this page which we've seen before, and it gives us 3 choices. As I've said before, if you are signing in for the first time or before you're starting a meeting, you may want to go back and look at how your account is configured because it determines what your participants are allowed to do or not allowed to do. And as I said, depending upon who they are, you may want to limit some of the functionality. But the purpose of this video, though, is to show you how to host a meeting with others. So you're going to click this Host Meeting button, and that will, again, bring up this the first time you've used it, it'll bring up, again, a place where you have to log in. So I'm going to put in my username and password and hit login, and it will start Zoom. Now, Zoom is a standalone program, so again, my security settings always prompt me to, I have to allow a program to start that I've clicked in a web page. So again, I have to hit allow, and then we'll open up a meeting room. And again, you have a choice of joining through phone or your computer audio. Generally, you're going to use your own computer audio, but it requires that you have a microphone either built into your laptop or an external mic or something along those lines. So I'm going to click Join with Computer Audio, and then there I am. I'm in a meeting room. But it's just me right now, and that's no fun. I like meeting with other people. So the next step after you start a room is to invite your participants. To do this, you will need their email addresses. That's the best way to, and easiest way, to send them an invite. And what I generally would do is I would remind your meeting people that you're going to have a meeting on 8 a.m. Saturday morning, which means they'll probably hate you, but again, and then get in 15, 20 minutes early and then send them this invite, which will give them a direct link to join the room. So again, what I do is then click invite. When you click invite, you're given 2 options here, room, system, or email. If you're joining with a whole distance ed room, which is unlikely that you're doing, you'll use that tab. For the most part, you're all going to use an email message as a way to invite people to join a meeting. And again, you're going to use this default email. What this will do when you click that tab is it will open up a email message with all of the information needed to join your meeting. And again, you'll want to do this once you've already opened up the room and kind of configured it. So again, I typically try to get into a meeting 15, 20 minutes, a half hour before, and then send everybody this email that gives them the direct link to join the room. And it's pretty cool what Zoom does here. It'll basically create this email for you. You will have to type in the email addresses of whoever it is that you want to invite. So I'm going to invite myself. And then it's an email message like any other. So I would encourage you to type a message here, say, hey, thanks for agreeing to meet with us. Here's the instructions on how to join, and so on. Now, what Zoom does is gives us some different options for your participants to join. The first is if they're using a PC or, again, a Mac, or even their phone with Zoom, the Zoom program already or app already installed, they can click this link and it will take them directly to the meeting room, which I'm going to show you how to do on my phone here in a second. But again, so they can use that link if they are on a computer or on one of those other devices. If they're calling in on an iPhone, they can actually click one of these buttons and it will actually make the phone call for them, enter the meeting ID, and so on. Pretty slick. Or if they're calling in via some other type of a device, they can utilize these phone numbers here. This information is if they're joining from, again, a distance ed type room. I would encourage you to just delete that because it will confuse everybody. Now we have a much nicer, cleaner message. So when you're ready for people to join, all you have to do is, again, configure your message and then hit send. So again, once you've created your meeting room, you've entered the room and started the meeting and sent an email to all of your potential participants, you'll then want to make sure that they check the email, especially the email address that you sent that message to. And again, when they check their email, they'll be able to click the link and join the meeting. Let's see how to do that in real life. So what your participants will see is they will get an email. So you should tell them, again, prior to the meeting, they should check their email and that you're going to be sending them a link to be able to join the meeting. Again, the nice thing is the individuals do not necessarily have to be, again, CalU faculty or CalU students. You can invite anybody to these meetings. They can use Zoom for free because you're hosting the meeting. So again, they will not necessarily have to log in to a CalU account. So anyway, you can see, I've gotten invited to a meeting. Tom West invited me to a meeting. So they would click their email. And as you've told them before, in that email, they'll see a number of different ways to join the meeting. If they're joining from their computer, whether it be a PC, a Mac, or if they're running a Linux system, or an iOS device or Android device, they can just click this very first link here, and that will take them to the meeting. If they want to call in because they're worried about their connectivity or they aren't on Wi-Fi, then there is a phone number that they can call, and then they will need this meeting ID number. So again, you may have to walk your participants through this, especially if it's the first time that they're using Zoom. But good news, I'm going to use my computer, so I just click this link. And what that will do is that will take us to this page to join a meeting. And we get the same kind of a prompt that we did when we were hosting the meeting. How do I want to join? And again, as long as they have a microphone, they can join with their computer. And you can see I've already started a meeting. Our host is my daughter Grace's penguin. I forget her name. This penguin is one of over 50 big-eyed animals that she has, and I've lost track of the names. But anyway, so you can see that I've joined this meeting. And as a participant, I can see a lot of the same menu items because I haven't disabled them in settings as the host of the meeting has. Again, and I can see that there's two participants, me and the penguin. So anyway, that's how they would join the meeting. So once the meeting has started, as the host, you're obviously tasked with, again, moving the participants through whatever the meeting's purpose is, and so on. I'm going to focus on the idea that the meeting that you're having is a dissertation proposal meeting or a meeting with your faculty committee. So once the meeting has started, you're going to obviously be waiting until all of the participants have joined. So even though you tell everybody we're going to meet at 9 a.m., there's always some stragglers. And if there are, it's always a really good option to have their phone numbers available so you can call them and see what's happening. Because maybe they didn't get your email, maybe they're having some type of a problem. So make sure you exchange phone numbers with everybody prior to the meeting. That's something that you can certainly throw in that email that you send to everybody if they don't already have your phone number. But then I'm going to walk you through this, but there's a number of different buttons and actions that you can take during the meeting that are useful and may make the meeting go more smoothly and again, just more efficiently. And we'll take a look at these, but they include how to mute a participant. Sometimes there can be background noise and you don't necessarily need to hear them. They can mute themselves, but sometimes you may want to mute them for the group. How to in other ways manage the participants, maybe their video, etc. How to change view types. I'll show you kind of the different options there. How to enable chat or disable chat, and again, how chat may be used. How to record the meeting. There are times where you may want to record the meeting, especially a meeting where maybe they're giving you feedback, and again, you can't necessarily take enough notes or notes quickly enough. But again, if you're going to use the record function, make sure you let everybody know that you are recording. How to share your screen. This is going to be really important if you want to share slides with somebody. If you're giving a presentation, you want them to see your PowerPoint or your keynote slides or your Prezi, etc., then you'll want to use the share button, and I'm going to show you how to do some things with that. And then lastly, how to end the meeting. So what you can see here is I'm already in a meeting. I am in this meeting with the penguin and me. The penguin is very wrapped with attention because this is so interesting to her. And you can see right now we're of equal size. You can change the view as to whether or not you have, again, equal size windows or separate by clicking this speaker view button. And that will allow you to change kind of the view between a gallery view and a speaker view. Gallery view has everybody at an equal size. And again, you can see each other and so on. Probably works with a small group. With a big group, it may be better to have the speaker actually big and then the other people smaller. But again, that's up to you as to how you want to set that up. Oh, we have a third person that just joined the meeting. It's Tucker. Tucker's joined the meeting as well. So that's the sound you'll hear when somebody else joins. You can disable that in the settings, but again, I like to have it so you know when someone has actually joined, especially if they join without a video, then you know they're there listening in. But anyway, we've learned what this button does here. If you hover over the individual people, you see that you have some controls. So we can choose to mute the penguin if we want, if there's a lot of background noise where the penguin is or something, you can do that. So there's some functionality here on these various buttons. You can also do different things, make them the host and so on. You can remove a person from the meeting if they're misbehaving and so on. But again, there's lots of different functions. You can also manage the participants by clicking this button here. So you can manage the participants here, and you can actually see a whole list of who's on the call. Again, really useful if you have a lot of people that are participating. And you can see that I've muted the penguin, and I can choose to mute or unmute them here as well. So again, it's kind of handy to be able to use these different features if you so need. In general, when you're doing a meeting with a smaller group of people like your committee, when you're doing all of the talking and you know you're not really open for questions and so on, it's probably good practice for everybody to mute their mic, decreases background noise, any interruptions and so on. Mailman comes to the door, it's nice to have that set up that way. But again, that's up to you. Some other functions that you see here is obviously you can turn on the chat window. The chat window allows you to then either type a message to the whole group or to an individual in the call if you so choose. Again, it's also a way for people to potentially ask you questions if they don't want to use their microphone. So it's a nice feature. You also see that you have some choices here. Again, this go slower, go faster button. Again, if you're doing a presentation and you want that feedback, you can tell people, hey, if you need me to slow things down, push the go slower button, and the presenter will actually see that feedback. You can also do a quick poll of the audience using the yes, no buttons if you so choose as well. So that's kind of neat. Maybe not something you would use in a defense or proposal meeting, but certainly if you're teaching a group of people and you want to say, hey, you guys good? Can I move on? You can ask them and they can say yes or no. But the chat is there as well. Also, you can turn on recording. That will record the presentation so that you can view it again later. If you're getting like feedback and you want to be able to view it later, you can do that. But always, please remember to let everyone know that's on the call in the meeting that you're recording, so they know that any of their comments are recorded. Just good practice. The button that's probably the trickiest, but the most important to use in these meetings is this share button that's at the bottom. You have some neat functions here. Primarily, I think we're going to use the share button when we want to do a presentation to a group of people and we want to share a series of slides. But we can share anything that's on our screen. So any apps that I have open are going to be seen down here, and I can share it. So I can share my Safari screen if I want to show them something on the web. I can share my PowerPoint presentation if that's something I want to do. I also can open up a whiteboard where I can draw, and again, they can see it. So if I wanted to show a math problem or something, you could do that. But I'm going to show how to share a PowerPoint presentation. So what you need to do is you need to have the PowerPoint open. Once the PowerPoint's open, and then you click that share button, I can double click on that share button and it will bring up the window where my PowerPoint is. You can see it's not maximized, it's not on the whole screen. I can choose to do that though. But they can see that PowerPoint. They can also see my pointer as I move it around the screen. So if I want to do a presentation, I would share the PowerPoint and then I would go into, again, the slideshow mode. Same thing if you're going to share another program like Prezi or Keynote or something. The person doesn't have to have this program on their computer. They're just seeing what's on your screen. So if I hit that button to the screen show, it will put it the full screen. I can still see these people here, and I can still choose to mute them if I need to, and so on. And I can move this little window to different places if I need to get it out of the way. But that's a good spot for now. And then I can do my presentation. And I use the same buttons that I would use to advance the slides during a slideshow. So when I'm done with this slide, I can advance, and everyone will see that slide advance. So again, I can show pictures, I can show slides, I could show a video on my computer and share it with the entire group. Works out really well. I can stop sharing at any time by hitting the stop sharing button, and it will bring me back to that start screen where I can see everybody. So again, works really, really well. And again, I think it's a really kind of a handy way to share a document and do a presentation to a group of people. Your participants can also share documents. So if someone says, hey, I have a presentation I also want to share, or I have an article that I think is useful for us to take a look at, they can do that as well. But you can also disable that ability when you set up your settings in the meeting. So again, hopefully this has been helpful in showing you how to do these different features in Zoom. Zoom has a lot of other functions and functionality that I think is really cool if you want to play around with it. But I wanted to show you the basics so that you can host a meeting. When you're all done with the meeting, the only other thing to do is tell everybody goodbye and hit the end meeting button. When you hit the end meeting button, you can see you have a couple choices. If you want to leave the meeting room open for other people to still use it, you can click leave meeting. If you want to end meeting for all, which is typically what you would do if you're the host, you can do that as well. However, sometimes as the student, even though you just presented and you hosted the meeting, your committee may want you to leave so they can discuss, and you can do so, and then you can rejoin at a later time. Well, this brings the Zoom tutorial to an end. Hopefully this presentation and the previous one were helpful in teaching you how to set up Zoom, how to utilize it as a participant or as a host. I do think Zoom is a pretty robust program and allows you to do a variety of different things, whether you're meeting with an individual or with a group of people. So hopefully you'll play around with it, because that's the best way to learn how to use it. If you do need help in using Zoom, again, don't hesitate to let me know, and I'll be glad to be the person that you Zoom with, and we can play around with the different settings and so on. Again, I do think it's a type of a program that we're going to see utilized more and more frequently. So being able to use this type of technology and being familiar with it is going to be helpful in your future. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email at thomas.west@calu.edu. Thanks for your attention.